What questions should you be asking a potential life partner? Hey everybody, I'm Kevin Anthony, a certified sexologist, Tantra Counselor, NLP Practitioner, and sex, love, and relationship coach. Today I'm going to be talking about some questions that you should be asking a partner that you see potential in for becoming a life partner. But before we do that, please make sure that you like this video, share it with your friends, and subscribe to the channel. Doing so greatly helps the channel. It helps me get this information out to the people who need it. Okay, number one question you should ask is, what are your core values? This is a really important question. A lot of relationships end over time because people didn't share their core values. So core values can be a lot of things, but they are the things that are sort of fundamental to how you see the world. And that's really important because if you see the world one way and your partner sees the world the other way, there's a high likelihood that eventually over time, that's going to create enough friction that it could end the relationship. So it's really important to just sit down and have a discussion. Like, how do you see the world? What do you think about this, or this, right? What are your core values? What's important to you? Are they things like, honesty, transparency, joy, love? There can be lots and lots of things that you could consider a core value, something that is essential for you to have in your life. The next one is, where do you see yourself in the future? And you can do a, immediate future, sort of short term and long term. You can just, go long term if that's more of your focus. But it's important to understand where somebody sees themselves. In other words, if somebody says, well, I see myself, living in a foreign country and, doing this particular job for a living. Well, that would be important to know because maybe you don't want to live in a foreign country or in that particular foreign country. So that's something that you would want to know. Maybe it's, I see myself as, being a musician and traveling around the country or the world performing. And the other person might see themselves as, well, kind of a homebody. And I'd really like to establish a homestead, so to speak, right? But like a grounded place to live and kind of just be there. So it's important to know what it is that people want for the future. It could be, which is the next one on our list, do you want children? I am amazed how many couples, when they are dating, if they are in that, sort of childbearing age, don't ask that question up front. Do you actually want kids? This is one of the biggest decisions you will ever make in your life, and people don't ask this question until later on. It's something that you would want to know right from the beginning. This next one is, I would say, undervalued, which is, what does your ideal sex life look like? A lot of people take for granted in the beginning of the relationship that the sex is pretty good. But they don't really think what's going to happen long term down the road with our sex life. And it's really important to see if you have a relatively close match for what you like and what you want out of your sex life. Because your sex life is a hugely important part of your relationship. So you want to know things like, what kind of sex do you like? Somebody might be really into, rough BDSM style sex, and the other one might absolutely hate that. You would want to know that. You'd want to know, what does the frequency of sex look like for you? Or how would you want it to look like, right? Some person might say, well, for me, it's like a minimum 4 times a week. And the other person might be like, a maximum for me is once a week. Like that, I'm good with that, right? So you want to know those types of things. What does your ideal sex life look like? If you can understand what somebody wants out of a quality sex life, you can see whether or not that's going to match up. There is pretty significant data to show that underlying a lot of the causes that people state for why they're getting divorced is actually an unfulfilling sex life. The next one is, where do you want your career to be in the future? Now, this is a little bit like where you see yourself in the future, but it's a little bit more specific as well because it's really about just your career. Now, I mentioned an example about one person wanting to be a professional musician and tour the world. Okay, that would be important to know. But there are other things too. For instance, some people are extremely career focused, and it would be important to know when getting into a relationship, is their career the most important thing in their life? Is that where they're going to put most of their time and energy? You would want to know that. Now, if you're also very focused on your career and wanting to put a lot of time and energy into it, that may work for you. But if you're not and you want to spend more quality time with your partner, that may be an issue. So this is something that you would really want to know up front. The next one is, how do you handle money? This is another one that comes up when you're looking at why couples break up or divorce. Money is often cited. Now, money isn't necessarily the real reason why, but it's definitely a contributing factor. When you have two people in a relationship who have very different ideas on how to handle money, that can be a problem. One wants to spend money all the time, the other one wants to save money all the time. That can really be an issue in the relationship. So, you're interviewing your potential life partner, ask them, how do you handle money? What feels good to you? What makes you feel safe in the world? Because remember, for the person saving the money, it might be a core safety issue. And if we go back to fundamental values, safety might be a fundamental value for them. And saving money might be a way that fundamental value is expressed. So it would be really important to know that. Since money is so important in our society, and since it is usually a very big issue in relationships, you really want to know up front how somebody is going to handle money, and does that match the way you want to handle money? The next one on the list is, where do you want to live? We live in a relatively global society these days, which means we have the ability to move and live almost anywhere we want. And it's really important for you to know, where do you want to live? Even if you're not thinking really far outside, like, on the other side of the globe or anything like that, it might even just be as simple as, what town do you want to live in, or what state do you want to live in? There are big differences from state to state, not only differences in laws and culture, but differences in weather, topography, things like that. And, some person might say, man, I love the snow. I'm really into skiing. That's my thing. And I want to live somewhere, where I have access to that all the time. And the other person might be like, I'm not really a cold weather person. I'm kind of more of a beach person. And I'd really like to live on the coast by the beach where it's warm and sunny all the time. These are important things to know. If you end up in a long-term relationship with a big difference like that, the only way that this relationship is going to continue is if somebody compromises. Now, compromise is not necessarily a bad thing, but if you're compromising on something that, again, is a fundamental value of yours, you're going to end up with resentment, and that will eventually eat away and erode the relationship. And the last one on this list is, what does your ideal relationship look like? I love this question because relationships can really look a lot of different ways. Some people can be super, super close and spend all of their time together. That's the way Celine and I were. We were rarely ever apart from each other, and we really loved that. That worked for us. And I know for a fact that, let's say I had a job where I had to be away a lot, that wouldn't have worked for her. So it's important to know, what does somebody's ideal relationship look like? And I think, in the beginning of a relationship, this is one of those questions, like, you don't hold back. You really shouldn't hold back in any of these questions, but really don't hold back with this one. This is your opportunity to create what you want for your relationship. So say, if I had it all my way, which is one of Celine's favorite games, what would my relationship look like? And just get it all out there on the table. And then they have an opportunity to do it too, and you get to see where that lines up. Now, I don't expect two people, really any two people's ideal relationship, to look exactly the same, but it should be mostly the same. And the most important parts of that ideal relationship should be in alignment. So there you go. There are 8 questions actually, that you can ask when you are interviewing a potential life partner. The better job you do at asking these questions and getting clear answers, the better you are setting yourself up for success.